This morning I got an alert in my email about another artist I keep track of to some extent, alerted by in an email to an artist called, a Japanese artist called Takashi Murakami. And he's a modern culture hero. He's a modern day culture hero. He's very eclectic. Look at this as one of the pieces you see there. That something he made. There he is. That's what he looks like. And as this catastrophe escalates, the Fukushima catastrophe escalates, we're going to see that this culture, what I call the culture of death, will counter with powerful denials and try to pummel us into the ground with these culture heroes, these artists, these people that are producing work to drive the final nail into our coffin, and to destroy our conscience, any resistance we might have. And I screen captured, and you can listen to some explanation, but it's ratcheting up. It's ratcheting up. And here's, as you see, his stuff in Versailles. That's his famous KO2 doll. This is a brief introduction. I'm going to do a bit of a longer video, but I thought I'd show this. This is an artist called Takashi Murakami. He's Japanese. This is from a video I'm capturing from a Versailles. It's a Versailles exhibition. Here you have an idea of what this artist is doing. He's basically hyper pop. He's somebody that recently, I'm going to attach a link. He came out with a film on Fukushima. I thought, wow, fabulous, a well-known artist, a film on Fukushima, and I'm gonna just do a bit of a dissertation on that. There he is, look at him. He is the modern samurai. He is the modern age samurai of fluff and doodles and colorful design. It's somebody, like Robert Hughes said, if you throw enough money at this guy, or he was talking about Damien Hirst or Jeff Koons, and a whole lot of industrial know-how, technological know-how, you can produce this is hyper pop. This is total madness. This is insanity. And I will continue. I just thought I'd do a little lead-in with this particular video from a Versailles exhibition. It's actually difficult for me to figure out where to begin with this, but I'm gonna just run a little bit more film YouTube stuff. I'm capturing this off a site, and it's an exhibition this artist did in LA. Listen to him a little bit. He's going to talk a little bit.
I have a show here. Painting and sculpture is super new.
Sculpture is super new, not new, super new. It's a kind of hyper. When I say hyper pop, everything has to be escalated to the next level of some extremity. When I say vulgarities, I mean he's a designer that basically, in the end, you'll see he uses child labor as assistants to do his work. He's one of these new, very acceptable, very agreeable looking sort of fellow. He's the new samurai of death, and his imagery. I mean, I use confrontational imagery, and it is sometimes very difficult. If you're a sensitive person, what you're going to see from this guy, he is reducing the vulgarities into a pop framework that it's kind of like skulls become M&M or chiclets. This is like the concept behind this person, which is this is very difficult, especially in the backdrop of Fukushima. He's Japanese. He actually did a film called Jellyfish Faces or Kids or something like that, and it's a movie about Fukushima. And I will attach, as I said, a brief interview with him about this. He doesn't talk about the nuclear plant in any sort of real way, because he will not be allowed to exhibit his work if he opened his pie hole. But they're going to release this stuff in a mold over in a like a pablum. He's chewed through it. He's masticating his work. He's basically pre-chewing everything with this weird hyper pop stuff. Let's hear a little bit more.
This show is cannot see the Western art history, so just focusing on Asian history stuff.
Oh, how ridiculous. This is all, he says it's got nothing to do with Western art. He's totally Westernized. There's nothing left. He's got these anime kind of characters that are just vulgar. I mean, they are so brutal. That KO2 girl. There is message and meaning. KOOK, O2, lack of oxygen. KO is when you're a boxer and you get knocked out, you're KO, not okay, which kind of interesting. I never thought about that. I'm going to pause for a sec. Now you're going to see him sanitizing the events at Fukushima with this film that he did, Jellyfish Eyes, he calls it, and I'll let him talk a bit first.
When we got earthquake and a tsunami in Japan 2 years ago, Japanese looks almost give up. Some volunteer goes to this site and help them, but this is not like a core point. What is a very important thing for the help for the people? And I thought this is a moment when religion becomes necessary for the people, I thought.
You got that? He felt that religion was important for the people. This is his response to the tsunami, earthquake, no mention of Fukushima nuclear explosion, reactor meltdowns yet, but his religion he's providing us. Look, there it is. I mean, do I have to explain this? If I do, I sort of feel like, we're drowning, and he's giving us the religion that'll take us to the next, to eternity. This is what you're looking at. Let's hear a little more.
I am educated from the Western art.
Oh, this was interesting, I thought. These two figures, they're like two atomic explosions for me. He's got these monsters, and part of the religion that he's providing for people to venerate. See, people now will look at this and incorporate this as a perfectly normal vision, a perfectly normal image, because he's introducing these poppy colors. He's very derivative. He pulls in Liechtenstein. I think this is his great mentor historically. He tries to weave in some kind of Hokusai Japanese culture, and he bastardizes everything into this kind of grotesque monster-like thing, which he calls the religion that he's bringing to people. And I'm bringing him up because he's Japanese. He did a film, Jellyfish Eyes, about the Fukushima disaster, and he doesn't mention the gravity of the meltdowns, the ongoing meltdowns. He's treating it like this happened, and we have to recover from this and go into the future. Whichever way, he's communicating through his work that everything is okay. You can have a religion of vulgarity and grotesque imagery, like the gargoyles, like the Vatican. You go to the Vatican and you go to cathedrals, Gothic cathedrals, and you see these brutal gargoyles on the parapets on the top looking down at you. And these are very peculiar, this sort of demonic. The thing that religions supposedly are countering is the despair of our attraction to the demonic, to what the satanic, or whatever you want to call it. This is sanitizing something that should so outrage us. He's taking this to a level of what I call the culture of death. This is the perfect example, what I've been talking about when I say the culture of death, represented by the high art in this culture of death. Let's hear some more.
A conceptual thing and historical thing. So my work was mixing with Japanese, the subculture, and Western art history. But at that moment was, that's necessary to the, kind of the mix.
Yeah, this is the final assault. We're now proceeding through Fukushima and the radiation from Fukushima, and of course, over the next 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years, the escalation of people like this. We're going to look very similar to what he's presenting, and his stupid unicorn with the tree coming out of the head, and these grotesque figures, these mix of Western, Japanese, almost kind of like there is a decrepit eroticism in these. I find these almost like a lifeless. It's like having sex with a corpse. There's a name for that, necrophilia or whatever that is. So he's a doodler, he's a designer, and he's generating despair, and he's saying it's okay. It's okay. Now people can argue, say, well, no, he's just exposing this. He's not advocating this. Au contraire, mon ami. I beg to disagree. When everything that he makes is so removed from what I always refer to as conscience. I don't care how much people will compare him to people like, let's say, Velasquez or Caravaggio. They're going to look at and make comparisons, these ridiculous comparisons, or obviously he's a pop artist. Now, what I call this is hyperpop, generating a despair from the vacuum of itself. This is ultimately the ultimate expression in the age of fission. This is an artist that exemplifies what we're up against, what it is we're trying to fight, the few people left that have a conscience. And you throw, like I say, you throw enough money at somebody like this. He's a clever designer. He's a designer. He's a graphic designer, and he's attempting to take what has been understood as painting and create his own little version. And he can do whatever the hell he wants. I'm not saying he can or can't do this. I'm just saying the transmission of spirit, what is coming, is based on despair. It is a mockery. He's mocking us. This is hyper pop mockery. It's an assault on our conscience. It's a fetishism. Ludwig, King Ludwig, the fetishist of Bavaria, would be proud of this guy. Maybe he'd actually turn over in his grave with, he'd get a Woody even as he's dead from somebody like this in terms of the fetishism. And, he's a voice of capitulation, this opulent despair. He's the hopelessness, and people will stand in front of it and pretend it's, oh, aren't these interesting, beautiful colors? Let's go on a bit more. I want to see.
So what my job is, I have to making some healing story for.
I mean, honestly, this is difficult. A healing story, and you see, this is a beautiful looking person, very acceptable to the general population. He can create these obscenities, but be like, he's sort of the modern samurai. He can't wipe his own ass. He's got to have assistance and technology doing all his work. He'll sit with a pencil and doodle something and passes it on. He'll talk about this too. I'm going to pause a second. Actually, I'm going to let him say what he wants to say here.
So my job is, I have to making some healing story
Listen to the music.
for the victims. So I thought that's why I'm making for the really honest thing.
He's making really honest things. Honest in what sense? Honest from the point of view of putting the last nail into our coffin. Honest. That's the honesty. I'll pause now. This is the film he made. Now, I call this Sanatizing Despair. He's using, it's a children's movie. I guess I haven't seen the movie. Let's see how it introduces itself.
when I start making live action film, like at the same time after the disaster, my feeling was I can make the story for the
Okay, after the disaster. You see, this is important. It's after the disaster. The disaster happened, it's over, it's finished, everybody goes on with their lives, and he's just expressing the difficulties people might have in their lives day to day, without referring to what the real disaster is here, which is, of course, the three full core meltdowns. Fukushima is raging, and he is pretending in this film. And I'm just going to go ahead now to, let me see. This is the last part in this segment. I'll just play this.
We have a good communication in my art pieces with my assistants, fabricator. But the movie,
Look at his assistants. They're like kids, teens, cheap labor teens, I guess. That's who's using.
is not. Everybody understanding. My process is really confusing. Like say
Modern
yes
samurai,
this morning and say no in the image.
anti-samurai.
Something like that process is very important for me because what is an important thing is making an art piece is a really fresh idea.
There you go. Fresh idea. These are the real Japanese artists. Please check out this video. It's beautiful. I love these people. I'll attach a link to Human Error